In the quiet stillness of the forest, where moonlight filters through the canopy and paints the ground in silvery hues, there lies a secret, a tale older than time itself. It begins with whispers, carried on the wind, of creatures that prowl the night. Their glowing eyes pierce the darkness. Their low growls rumble like distant thunder. But these are no ordinary wolves. For centuries they have lived among us, their stories woven into the fabric of human history, from medieval castles to modern cityscapes, from ancient myths to chilling eyewitness accounts. The legend of the werewolf refuses to fade. What keeps these stories alive? Are they mere fantasies, or do they conceal truths that humanity is not ready to face? Tonight, we journey into the heart of this enduring mystery, where fear and fascination collide. Welcome to the Werewolf Chronicles. Origins of the werewolf legend. Long before Hollywood transformed werewolves into monstrous icons of horror, the legends began in hushed tones around ancient campfires. These tales weren't just stories, they were warnings. Across cultures and continents, whispers of men who became wolves emerged independently. In ancient Greece, the myth of Lycaon tells of a king cursed by Zeus, condemned to live as a wolf for his hubris. In Norse mythology, the saga of the Volsungs speaks of warriors who donned wolf pelts, gaining animalistic strength and losing their humanity. Medieval Europe saw the rise of werewolf hysteria, with trials and executions eerily reminiscent of the witch hunts. Were these stories merely reflections of societal fears, or were they attempts to explain something unexplainable? What if these myths are the remnants of truths too terrifying to confront? Eyewitness accounts in modern encounters. Legends might remain legends if not for the eerie consistency of eyewitness accounts that persist to this day. From the shadowy depths of Europe's dense forests to the wide-open plains of America, stories of werewolf sightings have surfaced across centuries. In the 16th century, Gilles Gagné, dubbed the Werewolf of Dole, confessed to a horrifying series of murders, claiming he had the ability to transform into a wolf. But was he a deranged man, or was his confession driven by fear of the supernatural? Fast forward to 1936, in a Wisconsin town known as Elkhorn, where a motorist claimed to have encountered a beast walking on its hind legs, a creature now infamously known as the Beast of Bray Road. Witnesses described glowing eyes, a snarling maw, and a creature that defied the boundaries of the natural world. Even today, tales of cryptid encounters and shape-shifting beings fill online forums and late-night radio shows. Could these accounts be exaggerated fabrications, or are they glimpses into a chilling truth that humanity has tried to ignore for centuries? And if the latter is true, what does that mean for us? Scientific explanations and cultural psychology. The human mind has a fascinating tendency to fill gaps in understanding with stories, especially when faced with fear or the unknown. Could the werewolf legend be rooted in a combination of misunderstood illnesses, cultural anxieties, and psychological phenomena? In 1725, an unusual man named Peter Stump was accused of witchcraft and lycanthropy. He confessed to horrific crimes, claiming he transformed into a wolf using a magical belt given by the devil. Modern historians suggest his confession may have been extracted under extreme torture or fueled by widespread hysteria. But what about other cases, those without such obvious explanations? Science provides some intriguing insights. Take clinical lycanthropy, a rare psychiatric condition in which a person believes they can transform into an animal, often a wolf. Could this have influenced the legends? Then there's hypertrichosis or werewolf syndrome, a condition causing excessive hair growth all over the body. In medieval times, this disorder may have been interpreted as a curse or evidence of lycanthropy. Beyond medical explanations, some anthropologists suggest that the werewolf myth embodies humanity's fear of the primal, untamed side of ourselves. The wolf, a predator of the night, symbolizes what lurks within, the struggle between civilization and savagery. But can science truly explain away centuries of consistent sightings, or does it offer a convenient veil for something far more mysterious? And if these legends are purely psychological or cultural, why do they persist so strongly, even in today's rational world? Pop culture and media influence. From the flickering shadows of campfires to the glow of silver screens, the werewolf has transitioned from feared creature to a fascinating figure of modern mythos. But how did the terrifying predator of folklore become the conflicted anti-hero we see in today's movies and shows? The werewolf's cinematic journey began in the 20th century with Universal Pictures' The Wolfman in 1941. Lon Chaney Jr.'s portrayal of a cursed man struggling with his monstrous nature struck a chord with audiences. It introduced iconic elements like the transformative power of the full moon and the vulnerability to silver, a lore that wasn't always part of the original legends. The werewolf became a metaphor for the uncontrollable forces within, a battle between human restraint and animalistic instinct. This theme evolved with time. By the 1980s, films like An American Werewolf in London and The Howling redefined the genre with groundbreaking special effects and visceral transformation scenes that mesmerized and horrified audiences alike. Then came a twist. In the 2000s, franchises like Twilight and shows like Teen Wolf softened the edges of the beast. Werewolves became romanticized figures, often depicted as protectors, outcasts, or even heroes. Their struggle was less about survival and more about identity, acceptance, and love. But why has pop culture clung to this archetype? Perhaps it's because the werewolf reflects the complexities of human nature. Our desires, our fears, and our constant battle with the wild side we try to suppress. From ancient folklore to Hollywood blockbusters, the werewolf has evolved, but its allure remains eternal. Still, one must wonder, as art imitates life, is it possible that life sometimes imitates art? Could the enduring fascination with werewolves stem from more than fiction? What if, buried in the past, lies a truth we're yet to uncover? Cultural interpretations and symbolism. Across the globe and throughout history, the werewolf has taken on many forms and meanings. This is not just a story of a man turning into a beast. It's a symbol deeply rooted in the collective psyche of humanity. In medieval Europe, the werewolf represented the ultimate loss of control, a man stripped of his humanity by primal instincts. The transformation often coincided with acts of violence, such as murders or animal mutilations. The wolf, long seen as a predator and an adversary to human settlements, became a natural metaphor for those darker impulses lurking within us all. But the idea of a human-beast hybrid was not exclusive to Europe. In Norse mythology, the Ulfidnar, warriors believed to channel the power of wolves, were said to don wolf pelts and fight with berserk fury. These wolfmen were not seen as cursed, but rather revered as powerful and almost supernatural fighters. Meanwhile, in Native American folklore, the concept of shape-shifting into animals, including wolves, often carried spiritual significance. The wolf symbolized loyalty, family, and instinct, and those who could take its form were seen as protectors or wise leaders. Yet in other tales, the shapeshifter could also be a harbinger of danger, a trickster cloaked in the guise of an ally. Even in modern media, the werewolf remains a potent symbol. It's the struggle between the civilized and the wild, the rational and the chaotic. The werewolf's curse mirrors real-world battles, addiction, mental health, and the struggle to conform in a society that fears anything outside the norm. The full moon, always tied to the transformation, also has a deeper meaning. Across cultures, the moon is a symbol of change, mystery, and the passage of time. The werewolf's metamorphosis under its light speaks to the idea that we are all, in some way, slaves to cycles we can't control. Perhaps this enduring appeal of the werewolf lies in its ability to embody both terror and fascination. It forces us to confront what lies beneath the surface, the duality of human nature. Are we truly civilized beings, or is the wolf still lurking within, waiting for its chance to emerge? Controversies and theories. For every tale of terror and transformation, there are those who seek to unravel the truth behind the werewolf legend. Is it purely myth? Or could there be something rooted in reality? The werewolf is as much a mystery to scientists as it is to storytellers. One of the most prominent explanations stems from medical science. Conditions like hypertrichosis, a rare genetic disorder causing excessive hair growth, have been suggested as a source of the werewolf myth. In the Middle Ages, individuals suffering from this condition were often misunderstood, their appearance seen as evidence of something supernatural. Others point to lycanthropy, specifically clinical lycanthropy, a psychiatric condition in which individuals believe they can transform into animals. Historically, some of these cases were documented during witch trials, where the accused confessed under duress to being werewolves. Was it fear, delusion, or something more? There's also the theory of ergot poisoning, a condition caused by consuming contaminated grains. Symptoms included hallucinations, paranoia, and violent behavior. In rural villages with limited understanding of science, such behaviors could easily be attributed to possession or transformation. From a cryptozoological perspective, some theorists argue that the werewolf legend might have been inspired by encounters with real, yet undiscovered, species of wolf-human hybrids. These theories are bolstered by reports of strange wolf-like creatures in remote areas, creatures that defy conventional biological understanding. But skeptics remain firm in their belief that werewolves are no more than a psychological and cultural phenomenon. They point to the human brain's ability to interpret fear and folklore in ways that distort reality. The werewolf, they argue, is a mirror of societal fears, a convenient scapegoat for unexplained tragedies like livestock deaths or disappearances. And yet, despite centuries of scientific investigation and skepticism, the werewolf legend persists. Why do we continue to believe? Perhaps it's because the werewolf doesn't just live in forests or under the moonlight. It lives within us, a primal fear of losing control, a fascination with what lies beyond the rational. It's a question that science can't answer, and one that keeps the werewolf myth alive in our collective consciousness. Modern-day werewolf sightings and pop culture impact. While the stories of werewolves are rooted in ancient folklore, the fascination has not waned in the modern era. Sightings of mysterious wolf-like creatures persist, and their presence is woven into the fabric of contemporary culture. But what does this enduring phenomenon say about us as a society? Reports of werewolf sightings often come from remote or rural areas, dense forests, quiet villages, or desolate highways where the veil between reality and myth seems thinner. In Bray Road, Wisconsin, locals speak of the Beast of Bray Road, a hulking, upright canine figure said to roam the region. Witnesses describe encounters filled with terror and awe, their accounts eerily similar despite decades between sightings. Across the Atlantic, in the United Kingdom, there are tales of the werewolf of Cannock Chase, a creature reported to prowl the forests and moorlands. Some accounts suggest it's a remnant of ancient lore, while others claim it's a modern manifestation of unexplained phenomena. Cryptozoologists and paranormal enthusiasts often investigate these sightings, armed with night vision cameras and audio recorders. While skeptics dismiss the findings as misidentified wildlife or hoaxes, the emotional impact on witnesses is undeniable. What makes these sightings so captivating is not just the fear they inspire, but the belief that there is something just beyond our understanding, something untamed and unexplainable. Beyond sightings, the werewolf has become a cornerstone of popular culture. From blockbuster films like An American Werewolf in London and Twilight to TV shows like Teen Wolf, the myth has been reimagined countless times. These portrayals often shift between horror and romance, reflecting changing societal values and fears. But even as werewolves enter the mainstream, their roots in primal fear and folklore remain unchanged. The werewolf represents the battle between civilization and savagery, the fear of losing control, and the allure of tapping into something primal within ourselves. Perhaps this is why, despite advancements in science and technology, the werewolf legend thrives. It's a mirror of our deepest fears and desires. And so, whether they exist in dark forests, moonlit nights, or the silver screen, werewolves remain an enduring symbol of mystery and transformation. The question lingers: are they merely a creation of our imaginations? Or is there something waiting in the shadows, watching, howling, waiting to be discovered? Symbolism and psychological perspectives. Werewolves may dwell in the realm of myth, but their significance transcends mere folklore. These creatures have always represented something far deeper within the human psyche. At their core, werewolves symbolize the duality of human nature, a battle between our civilized selves and the wild, untamed instincts that lurk beneath the surface. Psychologists often interpret the werewolf as a metaphor for repressed emotions and desires. The transformation, triggered by the full moon, mirrors moments when hidden impulses erupt uncontrollably. In this sense, the werewolf is not merely a monster, but a reflection of ourselves, our fears, our passions, our rage. Historically, the legend of the werewolf arose in a time when societal norms were rigid and deviation was feared. Those accused of witchcraft or heresy were often described as shapeshifters, embodying society's anxieties about the unknown and uncontrollable. The werewolf was a convenient scapegoat for anything that defied explanation, a projection of the chaos that humanity desperately sought to contain. Jungian psychology, the werewolf fits into the archetype of the shadow self, the darker aspects of personality that we suppress but never truly eliminate. The violent outbursts of a werewolf are a chilling reminder of what can happen when the shadow is ignored or denied. On another level, the werewolf embodies the allure of freedom, a rejection of societal constraints in favor of raw, primal existence. It's the ultimate escape from responsibility and morality, a fantasy of becoming something untamed and powerful. This dual symbolism of fear and desire is why werewolves resonate so strongly with audiences across time. Even today, the werewolf legend is continuously reinterpreted to fit modern fears. In an age of environmental crises, some see the werewolf as a reminder of humanity's connection and disconnection from the natural world. In the context of mental health, the werewolf's uncontrollable transformation evokes the struggles of living with conditions like anger issues or dissociative identity disorder. The werewolf endures because it taps into something universal, a fear of losing control, a fascination with power, and a deep-seated curiosity about the wilderness within ourselves. Perhaps the most haunting truth about werewolves is not their existence, but the fact that they remind us of the beast lurking within us all. Werewolves in literature and media. From ancient folklore to modern blockbusters, the image of the werewolf has evolved. each era reshaping the creature to reflect its fears, fantasies, and fascinations. The earliest literary mentions of werewolves trace back to ancient Greece and Rome. Writers like Ovid in his Metamorphoses immortalized stories of cursed men transforming into wolves, blending moral lessons with vivid imagery. The myth of Lycaon, who dared to challenge the gods and was punished by being turned into a wolf, remains one of the foundational tales of lycanthropy. These early interpretations often painted werewolves as symbols of divine wrath or human hubris. As centuries passed, medieval Europe injected werewolf stories with an air of terror and persecution. They became allegories of heresy, witchcraft, and the devil's influence. In these accounts, the werewolf was no longer a victim, but an agent of evil, hunted by the church and feared by the masses. These dark tales served as cautionary narratives, warning against straying from religious doctrine. By the 19th century, werewolves took on a more tragic and romantic tone in literature. In The Wolf Letter by Alexander Dumas, a man's pact with a wolf leads to his downfall, blending elements of fate, guilt, and supernatural horror. The werewolf was no longer just a monster. It was a deeply flawed being, torn between human and beast. Then came the 20th century, a golden age for werewolves in popular culture. Universal Pictures' The Wolfman, 1941, forever cemented the werewolf as a tragic, cursed figure. Larry Talbot's transformation was more than a physical change. It was a descent into torment, his humanity eclipsed by uncontrollable instincts. The silver bullet became synonymous with the idea of a singular, definitive solution to chaos, a concept that resonated during wartime. The werewolf legend adapted yet again in the latter half of the century. Films like An American Werewolf in London and The Howling embraced gore and transformation as art forms while exploring themes of identity and isolation. These films questioned, what does it mean to lose oneself completely? Literature followed suit. Novels like Angela Carter's The Bloody Chamber reimagined werewolves through feminist and gothic lenses, offering subversive takes on old tropes. Stephen King's Cycle of the Werewolf added a modern horror twist, linking lycanthropy to community trauma. Today, werewolves roam freely in the imagination of pop culture. From the brooding Jacob Black of Twilight to the wild pack of Teen Wolf, their portrayal continues to evolve, appealing to new generations. Some stories romanticize the werewolf, portraying it as a misunderstood hero, while others revert to the primal horror that first made the creature infamous. Whether as a monstrous villain, a tragic hero, or a metaphor for humanity's struggles, werewolves endure. They shift and adapt, much like their mythical transformations, always reflecting the zeitgeist of the time. They are creatures of the night, yet their stories shine a light on what it means to be human. But what draws us so deeply into their legend? The answer may lie in the primal, haunting echoes of our own untamed nature. The cultural impact of werewolves, from fear to fascination. As the werewolf legend evolved, its cultural significance expanded far beyond folklore and storytelling. What was once a symbol of terror and primal instincts began to morph into a complex metaphor for the human condition. Werewolves came to represent the duality of human nature, the struggle between civility and our untamed desires, between the light of reason and the darkness within. This duality was explored in groundbreaking works like Robert Louis Stevenson's Strange Case of Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which, while not explicitly about werewolves, shared thematic similarities. These stories compelled audiences to confront the beast within, challenging us to ponder how thin the veneer of civilization truly is. In modern times, the werewolf has found its way into diverse genres, from horror and fantasy to romance and even comedy. The rise of cinema introduced iconic films like The Wolfman, 1941, solidifying werewolves as cinematic legends. These films portrayed the werewolf as both a tragic and terrifying figure, trapped in a cycle of transformation and destruction. But beyond the silver screen, werewolves have infiltrated every corner of popular culture. In novels, TV shows, and video games, werewolves are now protagonists, antagonists, and everything in between. They've evolved from the beast that lurks in the shadows to complex characters with agency, morality, and depth. Werewolves, legends, and truths. The enduring allure of the werewolf lies in its ability to adapt and evolve with the times, much like the creature itself. From medieval myths designed to instill fear to contemporary narratives that evoke empathy, the werewolf has proven to be an unyielding symbol of transformation in the human experience. Perhaps that is why these stories continue to captivate us. They are mirrors reflecting our own struggles with identity, morality, and the unknown. In the werewolf, we see a creature that is both us and other, both predator and prey, a being trapped between two worlds, just as we often feel in our own lives. As we close this chapter on the legends and truths of werewolves, the mystery remains. Are werewolves purely figments of imagination, or is there a deeper truth lurking beneath the surface? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in the shadows, waiting for those brave enough to uncover it. Thank you for joining us on this spine-chilling adventure. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mysteries that defy explanation. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, some doors are better left unopened.